Hey y'all, let's take a look at something interesting, kind of a puzzly type of lesson here. So many things in math, at some point in the past, people figured out a way to do it. So they had a method and they came up with it, and then they went, oh, this method works every single time, so we're just going to follow the method every single time. So they did. And anybody after them could follow the same method, and it worked. So this time, you're going to think of a method. And this is the first, problem we're going to do of this. And I want you to come up with a method. Okay, in other words, let's look at this. Find a number that is 7/10 of the way from 30 to 40. Well, we all know what that is, right? 7/10 of the way from 30 to 40. Well, there's 10 difference from 30 to 40, right? 7/10 of the way is 37, right? It's most of the way to 40, but it's away from 30, okay? Well, pause it really quickly and come up with a quick method. Just jot it down really quick, your own little steps, really fast. How do we do this problem? Using the numbers 30 and 40 and 7/10, how do we find the answer 37? So pause it and try that. Okay, what you should have come up with is something like this. You said, okay, well, first off, step one is you go 7/10 of the way from 30 to 40. Okay, you'll go, okay, well, we'll do 40 minus 30 is equal to 10, right? That's the first thing you did. All right, the second thing you did was you went, okay, well, I'll take that number 10 and I'll multiply it by 7/10. And 10 times 7/10, of course, is just 7, okay? All right, then we took the 7 and we added it to the smaller number, and we got the number 37, and that is the correct answer. Well, I mean, if that works, if that method works for those easy numbers like integers, then it'll work for anything. It might be a little bit more, complicated looking at fractions and that kind of stuff, but it'll still work. So we can do it for a problem like this. Let's take a look at it. If you want to copy this down, you certainly can. Pause it if you want to. Find a number that is 1/5 of the way from 1/8 to 9/11. Okay. First off, okay, keep visualize the number 1/8, which is like 10, 12%, 12.5% actually. 9/11 is most of a number. Okay, about 82% of a number. Okay. Well, what number is 1/5 of the way from about 12% of a number to about 82% of a number? Okay, what's the in between? What's the 1/5 there? Add it to the original. That's what we're going to do. So let's look at the method. The first step, was to take the larger, subtract the smaller, and figure out the number. So let's go ahead and do that. Well, the larger is 9/11. This is step one. We're going to subtract 1/8 and get an answer. Well, obviously, we're going to have to get a common denominator, which is going to be 88. And that'll be 8 times 11, so 8 times 9, and then 8 times 11 again, 1 times 11. The answer is 61 over 88. All right, so step two, we go back here, we can go, okay, well, I'm going to multiply, what fraction of the way times the difference, right? Well, the difference we saw was 61 88ths. And they want to know a number that's 1/5 of the way, so we're going to go times 1/5. 61 times 1, of course. Then 88 times 5, well, that's going to be 440. Okay? This represents how much over we're going to move from 1/8 over to 9/11. Well, the third step, which is exactly the same as the one we just did, we take that smaller number and we add what we got as an answer for the second step. So the smaller number here is 1/8, right? And we're going to add the number we got in the second step. Okay, and you might not recognize this right away. You probably recognize, well, because we need a common denominator here. What is the common denominator between 8 and 440? Well, the answer is, I'll just go ahead and keep these there. The answer is 440, because 88 goes into 445 times. So if 88 goes into something, that means 8 goes into it as well. And the number of times it goes into 440 is what we want. So 8 times 55 and 1 times 55. We just simply add those together. So we have 116 over 440. If we knock that down in half, we'll have 58 over 220. We knock that down again, the answer is 29 over 110. And there's our answer. Kind of a convoluted, weird, big denominator answer, but that's what the answer is. Once we found the method, we use the method, and we're done. All right, let's do the third problem here. Find the number 2/3 of the way from 2 1/4 to 3 5/8. So whatever you get as a number, it's about 2/3 of the way from 2 to almost 4. So it's going to be somewhere, maybe a little more than 3, something like that. So whatever you get as an answer, make sure if you look at it, you can do the division problem, it's somewhat around 3. So let's make sure it's reasonable, okay? Okay, well, 2/3 the way from 2 1/4 to 3 5/8. Remember our first step. What's our first step? We subtract the smaller from the larger. So we're going to do that. Well, let's go ahead and put 3 5/8. Well, 8 times 3 is 24 plus 5. That'll be 29/8. We're going to subtract 2 1/4. Well, that's 9/4, right? All right, let's go ahead and make that into a fraction with the same denominator. So instead of 9/4, we'll have 18/8. We get 11/8. All right, there we go. Okay, so that's the difference, in other words, between 2 1/4 to 3 5/8. All right, we don't want the whole difference. We just want to, figure out what 2/3 of that is. Okay, so remember step 2, we'll take whatever we got as an answer and we'll multiply it by the whatever fraction of the way. So here we'll go, well, we got the answer is 11/8, and we want to find what fraction of the way it is. Well, that's times 2/3. In other words, we're starting off with 2 1/4. We're going to find, in other words, this is the difference between 3 5/8 and 2 1/4. We want to move 2/3 of this way over because that's what they're asking us for. Okay, well, we can just go straight across, or we can cancel first. Let's go ahead and cancel. And that's going to be 11 on top, and then 12 on the bottom. Okay, all right, so we'll take this and we'll add it to what for the final answer? We're going to add it to 2 1/4, right? Okay, so we'll have actually 9/4. And if you want to check this, go back here. The smaller number times whatever we got for the answer for the second step. The smaller number, which is this, times whatever we got, or excuse me, added to what we got for the second step. And we're going to add this, plus 11/12. So let's go ahead and change this into a 12 denominator. That's times 3. This is times 3. 27/12 plus 11/12 is 38/12. And if you want to go ahead and do, well, we can reduce that first. That'll be 19/6. And 19 divided by 6 is 3 1/6. Is that a reasonable answer? Yeah, that'd be reasonable. It's a little more than 3. Somewhere around there is our answer. So there we go. And that's the method. So go ahead and try the practice problem, and we'll do it. Pause it and try it. All right. Well, 1/8 of the way from 3-ish to 5-ish. So the answer is going to be somewhere between 3 and 4, closer to 4 probably. All right. So let's find it first. First step is to, step 1, subtract the smaller from the larger. Well, let's make the larger is going to be 6 times 5 is 31. So that's 31/6. And we're going to subtract 3 1/2, which is 7/2. All right. And we can go ahead and rewrite this as 31/6 minus 2 times 3 is 6, so 7 times 3, boom, there we go. And that'll be 10/6, which reduces to 5/3. So that's what we're looking at first. Okay, that's the difference between 3 1/2 and 5 1/6. All right, so we're going to take that and figure out, well, what is 1/8 of that? Remember in our second step, we take the answer we got for number 1, we multiply it by the fraction they want us to figure it out by. Okay, well, the answer we got for number 1 is 5/3. That's the difference. And we multiply that by 1/8. And that'll be 5/24. That's pretty simple. All right, step 3. What are we going to do now? What's step 3? It'll be 3 1/2, right? The smaller plus 5/24. And of course, we can go ahead and rewrite 7/2. We'll multiply that by 12. So 12 times 2 is 24. 7 times 12 is 84. So we have 84/24 plus 5/24, which is 89/24. Now, if you do the division, you'll get 3 here. And 24 times 3 is 72. We'll have 17 left over. So 3 17/24 That's approximately 3.7, let's see, 0.8, and anyway, that's about 3 and 71/100ths, which is reasonable. That is more than 3, a little more than 3.5. That's between 3.5 and 5 1/6. Okay. All right. See you guys next time. Have a great day.